Welcome to Reflections on the Masculine Journey with Raith. I'm Raith, and this is where we talk about wisdom, discipline, purpose, honor, and becoming the kind of man life requires. This is Masculine Journey Reflections 7th, and today's topic is Purpose Gives a Man Direction. In the last episode, we stepped back and tied together the first 5 lessons of the masculine journey. We talked about the foundation. We said that manhood must be built. We said modern men are missing structure. We said a man needs a code. We said emotion must be governed by discipline. And we said truth, honor, and integrity hold that code together. Now we move into the next stage. Because once a man begins to examine himself, once he starts building structure, once he starts developing a code, he must ask the next question: where am I going? That is the question of purpose. Purpose gives a man direction. Without purpose, a man may have energy but no aim. He may have strength but no mission. He may have ambition but no meaning. He may stay busy but never truly move forward. Purpose is what takes a man from drifting to building. Purpose is direction, not fantasy. When some men hear the word purpose, they think it has to be something dramatic. They think purpose means becoming famous, wealthy, powerful, or publicly recognized. But purpose does not always look like that. Purpose is not fantasy. Purpose is direction. Purpose answers the question, what am I building and why does it matter? For one man, purpose may be rebuilding his health. For another man, it may be restoring his family. For another, it may be becoming a better father. For another, it may be developing a craft, building a business, teaching others, protecting his household, writing a book, serving his community, or leaving something better for the next generation. Purpose does not have to impress the world, but it must organize the man. That is the key. A man with purpose has a direction for his energy. He knows what deserves his attention. He knows what must be protected. He knows what needs to be built. He knows what distractions must be refused. A man without purpose can be pulled in any direction. He can be pulled by emotion, pulled by pleasure, pulled by resentment, pulled by the opinions of others, pulled by the newest distraction, pulled by whatever feels good in the moment. That is not freedom, that is drift. Purpose gives a man a path, the difference between goals and purpose. Now let's separate two things. Goals and purpose are connected, but they are not the same. A goal is something you want to achieve. Purpose is the reason behind the achievement. A man can have a goal to lose weight, but the purpose may be to become healthier, stronger, and more capable for his family. A man can have a goal to make more money, but the purpose may be to create stability, provide opportunity, and build a legacy. A man can have a goal to write a book, but the purpose may be to teach, guide, preserve wisdom, and help another man avoid mistakes. The goal is the target. Purpose is the meaning behind the target. Without purpose, goals become shallow. A man may reach a goal and still feel empty because the goal was not connected to anything deeper. That is why men sometimes achieve success and still feel lost. They reached a milestone, but they never answered the deeper question. What is all this for? Purpose gives meaning to effort. It turns discipline into devotion. It turns sacrifice into investment. It turns hardship into training. It turns struggle into formation. When a man knows why he is doing something, he can endure more. He can stay steadier. He can recover faster. He can say no to things that would weaken him, because purpose gives his discipline a reason. A man without purpose drifts. That is one of the great dangers of modern life. A man can wake up, go to work, pay bills, scroll his phone, eat, sleep, and repeat that pattern for years. He may appear functional, but inside he may be drifting. Drift does not always look like collapse. Sometimes drift looks normal. Sometimes it looks productive. Sometimes it looks busy. But the question is not, am I busy? The question is, am I directed? There is a difference. A drifting man reacts to life. A directed man responds from purpose. A drifting man lets his mood decide. A directed man lets his mission decide. A drifting man wastes energy on distractions. A directed man protects his focus. A drifting man asks, what do I feel like doing? A directed man asks, what is required of me? That question changes a man. What is required of me? That is a purpose question. It moves a man out of appetite and into responsibility. It moves him out of complaint and into construction. It moves him out of passive living and into active manhood. A man without purpose waits for life to give him meaning. A man with purpose starts building meaning through his choices. Purpose is tied to responsibility. A man does not find purpose by avoiding responsibility. He often discovers purpose by accepting it. This matters because many men are taught to think freedom means having no obligations, no one depending on them, no one expecting anything from them, no burden, no duty, no sacrifice. But that kind of freedom can become emptiness. A man was not built only for comfort. He was built to carry something meaningful. His body, mind, emotion, strength, and discipline are meant to be directed toward something larger than temporary pleasure. Responsibility gives a man weight, not the kind of weight that crushes him, the kind of weight that shapes him. A father carrying responsibility for his children is shaped by that responsibility. A husband carrying responsibility for his home is shaped by that responsibility. A leader carrying responsibility for people is shaped by that responsibility. A man carrying responsibility for his own future is shaped by that responsibility. Purpose asks, what has been entrusted to me? My family, my health, my work, my name, my gifts, my knowledge, my time, my influence, my faith, my community, my next generation. A man begins to find purpose when he stops asking only what he wants and starts asking what has been entrusted to him. Purpose organizes discipline. Discipline becomes stronger when it is connected to purpose. A man can force himself to do hard things for a while. He can push through on motivation. He can make changes because he is angry, embarrassed, or temporarily inspired. But if discipline is not connected to purpose, it often fades. Purpose gives discipline roots. A man who trains only because he wants to look better may quit when the mirror does not change fast enough. But a man who trains because he wants to be strong for his family, capable in crisis, and healthy enough to fulfill his mission has a deeper reason. A man who saves money only because he wants to buy something may spend it when desire appears. But a man who saves because he wants stability, freedom, and legacy has a stronger reason to resist impulse. A man who studies only because he wants to sound smart may stop when it gets difficult. But a man who studies because he wants wisdom, leadership, and service has a deeper reason to keep going. Purpose tells discipline why it matters. That is why purpose and discipline must work together. Purpose without discipline becomes a dream. Discipline without purpose becomes empty routine. But purpose with discipline becomes direction. That is when a man begins to move with force. Purpose protects a man from distraction. Not because distractions disappear, they do not. The world is full of distractions. Entertainment, arguments, pleasure, approval, anger, comparison, social media, resentment, old wounds, temptation, other people's drama. A man without purpose is available to all of it. He is easily pulled, easily provoked, easily seduced, easily scattered. But a man with purpose has a filter. He can ask, does this serve what I am building? Does this strengthen or weaken me? Does this move me closer to the man I am becoming? Does this deserve my time? Does this deserve my energy? Does this deserve my attention? That is powerful, because attention is one of a man's most valuable resources. What a man repeatedly gives attention to begins to shape him. If he gives his attention to outrage, he becomes reactive. If he gives his attention to lust, he becomes appetite-driven. If he gives his attention to comparison, he becomes resentful. If he gives his attention to purpose, he becomes directed. Purpose helps a man protect his attention, and a man who can protect his attention can protect his life. Purpose and identity. Purpose also shapes identity. A man begins to understand himself by what he repeatedly commits himself to. If he commits himself to comfort, he becomes softer. If he commits himself to excuses, he becomes weaker. If he commits himself to bitterness, he becomes smaller. If he commits himself to truth, discipline, responsibility, and service, he becomes stronger. Purpose gives a man a way to say, this is who I'm becoming, not who I pretend to be, not who I post about, not who I wish I were, who I am becoming through repeated action. A man's identity is not built by declarations alone. It is built by evidence. Every day his choices cast votes. His habits vote. His words vote. His reactions vote. His discipline votes. His excuses vote. His sacrifices vote. His purpose votes. And over time, those votes become identity. That is why purpose matters. It gives the man a direction for becoming. He is not just surviving, he is forming. He is not just reacting, he is constructing. He is not just aging, he is becoming. Purpose does not remove hardship. Purpose does not make life easy. That needs to be said clearly. Some people talk about purpose as if finding it will make everything smooth. It will not. Purpose does not remove hardship. Purpose gives hardship meaning. A man with purpose will still face pain. He will still face failure. He will still face disappointment. He will still face fatigue. He will still face setbacks. But purpose gives him a reason to continue. A man without purpose suffers and asks, why me? A man with purpose suffers and asks, what does this require of me? That is a different posture. Purpose does not eliminate difficulty. It organizes the response. It gives a man a reason to endure. It gives him a reason to get back up. It gives him a reason to correct himself. It gives him a reason to keep building when the results are not immediate. Purpose is not comfort. Purpose is command. It tells the man, you are not finished. There is still something to build. There is still something to protect. There is still something to learn. There is still someone who needs the man you are becoming. Finding purpose through reflection. So how does a man find purpose? He starts with reflection, not fantasy, not copying another man's life, not chasing whatever looks impressive online. Reflection. A man can begin by asking, what has life taught me? What have I survived? What do I understand now that I did not understand before? What pain can I turn into wisdom? What responsibility has been placed in front of me? Who depends on me? What do I keep being called back to? What problem do I care enough to help solve? What kind of man do I want to become? What legacy do I want to leave? Those questions matter. Purpose often appears where experience, responsibility, ability, and concern meet. A man may find purpose in what he has overcome. He may find it in what he is responsible for. He may find it in what he is good at. He may find it in what he cannot ignore. He may find it in what he wants to teach the next generation, but he has to slow down enough to see it. A distracted man may miss his purpose because he is too busy chasing noise. A reflective man begins to notice the pattern. He begins to see what keeps calling him forward. Practical exercise. Before we close, I want to give you a practical exercise. Write this at the top of a page. Purpose gives me direction. Then answer these 5 questions. Question 1. What am I currently building? Be honest. Your habits are building something whether you admit it or not. Question 2. What responsibility have I been avoiding? Purpose often begins where avoidance ends. Question 3. Who needs me to become stronger, wiser, and more disciplined? This question moves purpose beyond self-interest. Question 4. What distraction is stealing my direction? Name it. A man cannot fight what he refuses to identify. Question 5. What is one purpose-driven action I can take this week? Not 10 actions. One conversation, one habit, one correction, one commitment, one act of discipline, one step toward the man you say you want to become. That is how purpose becomes practical, not through vague inspiration, through direct action. This has been Masculine Journey Reflections. 7th, Purpose Gives a Man Direction. I'm Raith, and this is Reflections on the Masculine Journey with Raith. Today we talked about purpose as direction. Purpose is not fantasy. Purpose is not just a dream. Purpose is not simply a goal. Purpose is the reason behind the goal. It organizes a man's energy. It strengthens his discipline. It protects him from distraction. It shapes his identity. And it gives meaning to the hardship he must endure. A man without purpose drifts. A man with purpose builds. If this message speaks to you, subscribe to the channel, follow the podcast, and share this episode with another man who's trying to find direction. Leave a comment with this answer. What are you building right now? In the next episode, we will continue the journey by discussing responsibility is the weight that builds a man. Until then, remember, purpose gives a man direction. Discipline moves him forward. Honor keeps him aligned. And responsibility turns his life into something worth building. I'll see you next time on Reflections on the Masculine Journey with Raith.